All right, everybody. I'm back. London Calling. We're gonna mic up Beth Howell now. And does everybody know Beth? Do they? Everybody follow her on Twitter? And just in case you don't, I'm gonna go ahead and put up her Twitter page. And we're already starting to get questions. Please, everybody, ask some questions. For me, help me out. I know you have questions for Beth, what she's about, what she does. She's a full-time trader, and she trades all the sessions. She just sleeps every now and then. She's 28, right, Beth? So, or 27, was that right? But she went to college for this stuff. She actually had professors who were traders, which is pretty cool. I'm jealous. I want people that know both ends. All right, so here we go. It's time to light her up. This is Beth with a beautiful smile, and now you get to hear her voice as well. Oh, right. Let me find the button. You ready, Beth? All right, she's ready. Okay, aloha, Beth. How you doing? Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday.
You're supposed to say yeehaw, happy Friday.
Yeehaw.
How you doing, hon? Everything good?
I'm
How are you
good.
feeling?
I feel good. I feel good.
That's great.
I've needed a lot more rest this time around. I've been a lot sleepier. I think it's all just kind of catching up with me, but I'm still here as much as possible. So it's
Do
been
they
good.
give you more? Do they build the dosage up, or is it more intense as time goes by, or is it always the same?
As far as the dosage, it's always the same. They don't really change it. So, um, but I think this time was a little bit more intense. I wasn't nearly as sick. I've just been more tired. So
Interesting.
I'll take the tired over sick any day.
Yeah, I bet. I can imagine. Well, everybody, just to let everybody know, she did take 24 pips at the 76 level on that euro. As you can see now on this, I guess it's a 15-minute I have up. It's starting to show a little bit of uh, weakness here. And I'm still short this euro yen because, like I said, I'm playing it up to above that 141. I want to hold it through everything if things get a little rocky, like it seems like, without them making that IMF payment. So we'll see.
Yeah, my level on the euro yen was like 140.60, 140.40. So I think that is a good short level for what it's worth.
Yeah, I just like it on the daily and the bigger time frame. That's why I'm kind of playing it a little bit looser, a little more loosely, and a little bit wider and a little bit lighter. Um, but anyhow, so what's happening for the weekend? Are you going to the islands? What are you up to?
This weekend it's supposed to be cooler and rainy, so if I go, it's gonna be just to be there. It's not gonna be to like do much of anything. So,
Well, maybe that
but
might be good though, just to get away and just relax and not get crazy on the beach or in the water or whatever.
yeah, it's very relaxing.
I can imagine. I know. I've been to the Outer Banks. I love it. I love all that whole shoreline. It's just so different and so big and open. And I can't imagine when it's crowded. It must be just a bummer. I know the traffic can get bad sometimes. Anyway, I have a couple questions for you. First from Michael. He says, does she only trade euro dollar or does she go to the pair where the volatility is strong?
I trade several different pairs. I have a whole list. I do have the majors: Euro, Aussie, Kiwi. I do focus a lot on Euro because to me it seems like it moves more. You get more pips for your money. Every move is a little more exaggerated, comparative speaking to which the Kiwi lately has been on fire on the downside. So, I mean, I do have some of my longer term trades and my mid-term trades going on some of those other pairs in the background, but I do focus a lot on the euro.
Nice.
I mean, there was earlier this week the pound Aussie. I think I mentioned it on Monday or Tuesday,
Hmm.
and I made almost 200 pips off the euro, not the euro Aussie, the pound Aussie. So
Nice. So, but you like the liquidity in the euro dollar. You don't get much air pockets and stuff like that, right?
The euro is prime for the 1 minute, and that's where a lot of my scalping comes in at, and is on the euro. As far as scalping the other pairs, it's not as profitable to me to scalp the other pairs like that.
When you
So,
mean by prime, do you mean just like orderly or obedient?
well, obedient. My strategy does work best as far as my 1 minute strategy. It works best on the euro, and some of the other pairs, I don't use as much of the 1 minute. It's more of maybe a 5 minute, 15 minute, and sometimes even the hour. When I was doing the pound Aussie on Monday, I did go down to the 1 minute to watch the movement and where it would hit to confirm my temporary bias of whether it was going to continue downward or upward. And I think that's where I get my overall bias from, is the 1 minute, because I feel more in tune with what's happening in that moment.
Right.
And for me, since I don't hold a lot of trades for a long period of time because of my patience level, it seems to work better for me that I can get down on that 1 minute and just really pay attention and just focus in and make sure I get as much of it as I can, because I don't like just going in at a level without having some conviction
Right.
and a good read on what people are wanting it to do at that moment.
Yeah, the flow. Another question from Waikiki Michael in the house. How you doing, buddy? Great to over the hill, really close to me, only about 20 miles away. He says, can she tell us her setup and trigger on that last euro trade?
The last Euro trade, my trigger.
The one you just took above the half and got 24 pips on. He's talking
Right.
about live.
Let's see.
I'll pull it up real quick and I'll put a 1 minute up too.
Okay. Basically, the way that my strategy works is I have a set of rules, and the more of those rules that it hits, the stronger the signal. So, say I have 5 rules. If at least 3 of them are in play, then I'm watching to see what the other 2 is telling me as to why not to take it. But if I get like 4 or a 5 on the signal, then I'm definitely going to take it, because to me it's a much higher probability that it's going to follow through. Now, you also have to take into consideration the levels, your fib levels and things like that, which you have to manually put on the chart. So, not when you're taking any strategy, you have to, excuse me, you have to take your own internal gut check feeling and use it with the strategy. You can't just say, well, the strategy says this,
Right.
and follow it every single time, because you have to interpret what's going on. But basically what I did for this one is, you see the long bar that's coming up. Yes, that one. It went up, it came back down, and then you had this little box of candles, and it dipped down into Chris's EMA. You can see where it kind of hits that level that he's got marked in where the trend line is. It kind of came down and then went back up.
And made like a double, and made like the second mouse trade almost.
Yes, yes. Coming up out of the mouse trade was where I pretty much got in at, if I'm looking at that correctly. I see the 50 on your chart.
Here, right here. This
Yeah,
is where you got in.
once you had that bull bar come up, and then you had the little.
Why didn't you want to play this entry in here too?
Well, according to my strategy, it still had a chance of going lower.
Right, because it was on the other end too of these moving averages on this 1 minute.
Right, right.
What do you now? You say you put moving averages on your 1 minute. What do you like to use? Do you use 1, 2, or how many do you use?
I have 2 moving averages, a 9 and a 27 EMA.
See, now that's what I'm talking about right there. That 10 and 20 is very similar to what she's looking at, and they're definitely telling a story depending on which side of them they're on, or that's going back and forth through them. A lot to be said. And here, I'm sure that 27 was holding perfectly where you got in, and then you had horizontal support here. And you look at this 1 minute, it looks really pretty for a 1 minute. I mean, you look at some 1 minute, some of the other charts, it doesn't probably look nearly as orderly and as pretty as this euro does. So I could see trading this thing quite easily. I mean, if I would have seen this probably when you took this trade, it would have made me more motivated to do this. It looks much different if you go, let's go to a 30-minute. I mean,
What's remarkable, Chris, which I find really, really cool, your trend lines that you have coming in are very, very similar to mine. And you could see where those 1 minute bars were playing right in the middle of those two little trend lines. So when price is between those, you pretty much have to step back and say, I'm going to be patient, because it's just choppy. You can't enter in that area with any type of real confidence.
That's
Regardless of whether EMAs are crossing or your stochastic is telling you one thing or the other. When you have chop like that, you have to sit back. It's what I call the box. You have to wait for it to move outside the box.
And see here, it was really nice because it broke and then it retested the upper end and held. And you had about 5 minutes to make a decision in here. It wasn't like, you had to force this trade by any means. And then when you had this hammerish looking thing, it was time to go if it retested that wick. With I mean, what would your stop would have been? Almost 5 pips here, right?
Yeah. I mean, you really don't need more than a 5 pip stop on some of these trades.
All right. Nick says, can you go through her Euro entry long trigger? Okay, we just did that. Wow, interesting. Everybody wants to know how you did that. And Michael from Waikiki says, mahalo. It's so great to see people from close by here. So used to talking people from the other side of the planet. But boy, it's really fun to get Beth mic'd up. All right, here's your chance, everybody. I don't see enough questions, so fire away. It's question time.
Well, Ziggy asked me in the chat room to answer a question.
Okay, cool.
I wanted to know, since I use a 1 minute chart, why would I not use a tick chart?
Interesting question.
And I have looked at tick charts, and I don't like them. Maybe it's just a personal preference that I use a 1 minute. But the tick chart, to me, it does get a little bit more noisy, and even my brain can't function on such a short-term level. So it's
tick by tick is there's definitely a different world.
I think for me, the candles just make more sense on the 1 minute. And it's like for other people, they don't like the 1 minute. They want like a 15-minute or a 30-minute. So it's all about what you even want to deal with as far as stress. Maria told me yesterday that working with my strategy and stuff, that she understood the 1 minute chart for like the first time. Like it made sense going through what I was doing. And I think that's true for a lot of people. They look at the 1 minute and they're just like completely mind blown trying to figure out what it's telling them.
I just think it depends on how you're used to trading and what you're used to doing. I mean, if you trade stocks and you're a popper and dropper trader, which a lot of successful traders that are still alive are, then yeah, you're used to living in that first 5 minutes and understanding how to break down a 5 minute candle. Whereas other people are like, the open? Are you kidding me? You gotta be kidding me. Who would trade the open? So it just depends on what kind of plane you're used to flying.
Right. It makes a big difference, and two, what you're comfortable with, and what your time. I mean, are you able to stare at the chart, or do you need to be able to leave and go somewhere? So, it's all dependent upon the trader.
And here's the pound Aussie 1 minute. It's not nearly as orderly as we were seeing with the euro. A lot of back and forth, but there is ranges. And when you do see this back and forth, you have to understand that it is time to display the ranges through moving averages. And here it did
very much so. Euro is the same way after London close. And if anyone was to follow one pair, say you take a month and you just trade one pair and that's the only pair you trade, by the end of that month you get a good feel for the behavior of it. And in the certain times of day,
it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot to be said
certain times of day it does certain things, and like over time, I figured out if euro has hit a high for the day going into Asia, a lot of times it's going to trickle down, kind of like that, or stay in place, kind of like that flag I was pointing out yesterday. Because I trade the euro on a regular basis, I had a feeling that that flag would play out and go to the
Nice.
upside, which I may not would have known had I not been so focused on the euro, watching the moves that it's been taking over the past month.
There's a lot
So
to be said about that. I mean, because you if your target's 100 pips, it doesn't have to be fancy how you get there. It's just a matter of getting there, And if you are comfortable, you can smell things that are going wrong, and you're not ever guessing. You know what to do at every turn because you've been there and you've been there. Maria has a question for you. Okay, enough babbling on my end. We're about to run out of time. She says she's been trading euro as a main instrument for 9 years, and she's very rarely gone under 15-minute charts. I traded a purely Beth strategy yesterday the whole day and made 189 pips altogether by just looking at the 1 minute through those eyes. She says she was mind blown. Well, the main thing I think on this, Maria, and let me just get this real quick, and then I'll let Beth take over. Um, it really just depends on where the markets are. Right now, we're in very high volatility. Last summer, we weren't so much, and I'm sure tell us the difference between last summer and now, Beth, and about that kind of idea.
last summer and now, okay. The thing with one-way markets, you can totally do the sit and wait trade. I mean, and with the markets last year, it was just going down all the time as far as euro, or going up as far as the dollar. If you wanted to break it down on a 1 minute scale, though, you still have a lot of good ins and outs. And I mean, you can either sit back and let it go, and during the summer, of course, go to the beach and enjoy yourself. But even, I mean, there's always pullbacks. There's always extra pips that you can
Right,
make. And if that's your desire, is to maximize your profits, if you really want to sit back and get every single pip you can out of the market, then sometimes the 1 minute can do that, because
right,
you get those pullbacks. You can, you know, say like right now, that last trade I went 52 to 74. If I had the feeling that it was going to go up somewhere, I could get back in now at 70. That's
right,
another 4 pips. You know, that's the way to maximize profits. Now, in the same regard, if you can time it perfectly, as close as you can, and sit there and ride it out, and let all the bumps and things take you where they will, but you always end up in the same place, you're still going to make a good profit. So it just depends on your goal, your, how much time you want to put into it.
right,
What is your personal, what are you wanting out of the market?
right,
And I think for me, because my my ultimate goal is business, helping others, doing all these other side projects that I really would love to do, and coming up with a strategy that other people can implement. I want to
that's
do all these
nice.
different things. So
Giving back, I like that.
for
That's what I'm
me,
about.
what I'm
That's why
doing
I'm doing
works.
this. I like to give back. I like to interact with traders that are doing what I'm doing. It's very lonely. I've heard a lot of people tell me that this is a lonely business, and be able to come into a group with people on the level, it means a lot. But I guess what I was trying to get at before is do you find though that there's a time when you are like, oh gosh, why am I scalping? I should be position trading, or do you always feel like that it's okay to be scalping? Because I mean, there was a lot of times where data would come out, and if you weren't like parked in the position that's already going one direction, you leave a lot out there, and then after that, it doesn't. There's not a lot of movement. But I guess if you're in the 1 minute and you're happy with taking 10 and giving 5, it. I don't know. I mean, I guess what some people think of is it maybe that's a lot of work for what you end up with, depending on the market environment.
Right. Well, there was a a euro trade I did a little while back, and basically it I let it run. I took the 1 minute entry and got a really good entry on it. But when you get a runner like that, sure, stick with it.
That's
Let it
good.
run
That's
two,
good to
three,
know.
400
People
pips.
that you know, that's good for people to understand is that that you're not just only looking for 10 pips and giving five, and that's really important is if you can get something working and you can stay with it. Um, and I think the 1 minute, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, they're all the same. And if you treat them all the same and you work with them all the same and you forget about the dollar figures and you don't let that inside your mind where it makes you do things you shouldn't be doing, then I think your trading will go a lot better in
Yeah, you've
general.
mentioned several times I was a hybrid trader, and that's very true. I mean, and like I say, it just depends on what the market's doing
Exactly. And I
and
think
what
that's
it's
what I was trying to
giving
get
me.
at before. The
Yeah,
whole point I was trying to get before the volatility of whether you're willing to let trades lay out there or if you're just willing to just sweep them up quicker. And I think I missed that for a long time when I first started trading is that it's important to be breathing with the market is not so much trying to, put square pegs in round holes.
right. And two, I have a couple of accounts, so I might have something that's sitting there for a while, and then say, you have some free time, you can go in and scalp sometimes, and just add to your piggy bank. I mean, it's kind of like it's all about what your drive is. What are you wanting to get out of the market? I mean, that's
And
what.
Compax wants to know about do you have a fixed risk to reward like 10 to make 20? She definitely you're at least what 2 to 1 I think I've noticed minimal, right?
Yes, yes.
So there you
I'm
go.
not gonna. I definitely ain't gonna risk like 40 to make 10. I mean, that's not gonna happen.
How often will you do 1 to 1 trades? 'Cause I know that's in the world of scalping a lot.
If I'm wanting to scalp, like if I have free time and I'm doing side work or something after London close, and we normally get into this range of like 10 to 20 pips the rest of the afternoon into Asia, that's prime example of a 1 to 1. You go in at the range extremes, and normally you can get maybe 10 pips, but you're still risking 10 because you don't know if the range is going to break on some kind of weird news that pops out. So I think a lot of times that's what I would consider a 1 to 1. And when I was mentioning yesterday about patterns and whether they fail or break, any trade you take at the edge of a pattern, you're risking it going against you at least a 1 to 1, if not 2 to 1.
And plus, you
So,
do a lot of time trades as well, right? I noticed you talk about time. If it doesn't work after a certain amount of time, then you'll scratch it.
oh yeah, yeah. If something's just sitting there like a dud, just sitting in the water, just waiting for something to pick it off and shoot it in one direction or the other, then yeah, I'm out. There's no point in me sitting there waiting for something like that with the possibility of it going against me. So I don't normally sit in a trade like that because normally there's something else going on somewhere else. So
Right, right. You want to get your attention to the action because you're focused during that high impact times. Working those times the most. I like it. Okay, so Michael wants to know his main concern with Beth's method is my broker is making lots of money if the trades don't run for me. Well, one thing if you noticed, Michael, she doesn't ever have any losers. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that with her method. She's constantly winning. Uh, you don't find I mean, I don't find commissions being that big a deal in Forex at all, like with stocks. Stocks, you're paying commissions, but Forex, I mean, with MB, I don't really feel like I'm paying much. I mean, I don't know.
well, I don't have any commissions. Basically, I just have the spread. So whatever
Right.
the spread is all I'm out, and basically I never see it. Yeah, I just factor in that 1.2 pips or 2 pips or whatever it is. That's just part of the pain of getting to positive. But
Right.
um, a lot of times, it if you can get the decent entries, then it never goes against you. I moved to break even very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So,
that's important in that world. I think it's people have to realize that you cannot have deer in the headlight mentality, and really, I personally think that if you want to become a scalper, you really should simulate trade or at least go with micro lots till you get a feel of driving the plane and flying the plane, because I mean it's definitely a speed that you got to catch up with. And Phil has a question for Beth saying, what do you do outside of trading? She just trades, Phil. Come on. What do you mean? She eats,
um,
sleeps.
well, okay. So my current situation, my activities are slightly limited. Um, I normally, I'm a runner. I play
Oh yeah,
tennis.
which had your treatment. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not able to do any of those high impact activities for another 6 months.
Wow,
So
that's a
I go
bummer.
for I go for really long walks. I go hiking and things like that. And we have a few parks around here. I do that. I sit at the beach. I hang out with family, friends, and I do trade a lot. I've done a lot of reading, but I do have a lot of outside activities, and I normally do those
Hmm.
after London close, after New York close, into the evenings and on the weekends.
That's gonna be
And
hard all summer long, wanting to be all crazy active.
I mean, I love to surf, and I can't do that until next
Cool.
summer. So, but yeah,
Gosh, you would love where I go to Diamond Head. Well, I'll tell you, where I go is it's just for, I mean, I surf with all kinds of different ages and different levels of surfers where I go. It's really cool. That's for sure. You would love it. At least there's the picture. There you go. I can see you on that wave right there, Beth. That's just a little
we don't get waves like that here.
that. No, that's not that big, really. I mean, you'd be surprised. There's 60, 70-year-old Asian women out there with me that day. That day was just. But when you come, though, we'll definitely take you there. And there's other areas of the wave too where it's much more. They do lessons at the end of this wave where you can just catch it and catch
East
the
Coast
end.
has many waves, but they're still rideable. So
I'll tell you one thing: the Outer Banks will break your neck. If you want to
that's
break
true.
your neck, this wave will never break your neck like the Outer Banks can. Every summer, people break their neck there, right? I mean, that
Yeah,
wave is unbelievable when the
yeah,
hurricanes
it's
come and
pretty
whatnot.
rough.
No, yeah, I mean, that is known for taking ships, right? The Outer
Oh yeah,
Banks are.
oh yeah.
We're in overtime. I mean, that's like a thing to do, right? Dive wrecks and stuff like that. People who do like salvaging and stuff. There's a lot of major wrecks off of there, right?
Oh yeah, they just uncovered another one not too long ago, and Blackbeard's ship and all kinds of stuff is out there. So there's there's a lot of good history off North Carolina coast.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kelly says no need to bother how much the broker's making as long as you're happy with what you're making. Totally. That's nothing you really want to think about too much, I don't think. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. I got to get some rest. Anything you want to add? Anybody have any more questions for Beth? Fire away. You have 1 minute left. And usually I get 10 questions when I say that, so I don't see anything coming up. And Thiago says, what's the plan for non-farm payrolls? Stay loose and low, Thiago. Don't ruin your weekend. What are
Yeah,
you doing, Beth? Are you going to trade it or are you going to hang loose?
I normally I don't like to have a position open going into non-farm payroll,
Of course,
but
yeah.
I do scalp the crap out of it when it hits. I try to
There you
follow
go.
what direction it goes in. You have your levels set up. It normally swings back and forth between those levels. Sometimes, depending on how extreme the number is, it'll just take off, and there's
You
nothing you
might
can
get a
do
runner.
about it. Yeah, I mean,
You just have to watch, huh?
yeah, you have to watch, and you can't be upset about it. I mean, it's just one of those things. You're like, oh well, there's another one coming.
How
So
much time after the news hits do you wait? Ian wants to know, is there a certain time period um,
it
or
just
do you
turns.
wait for it to set up how the candles look, the positioning?
Yeah, the positioning set up. I mean, you go back and you look at May 8th release. If you look at like the 1 hour and how it actually played out, you get two candles side by side, and they almost look exactly the same, except one's red and one's green. When you break that down into a smaller time frame, you start to see that it's still in that same range almost, but it's just going up and down and back and forth, and it can get dangerous. And if you're not used to how the swings work, or you know, kind of thinking like an algo does, because
Mhm.
if it swings down, it's going to hit those stops and bounce back up, or just keep going
Totally.
in the opposite direction. So it's all about your experience with it. If you're not experienced in understanding what's happening, then don't trade it.
Yeah, I know. I got to
just
tell you,
just just
learn.
watch it.
Yep, learn.
Just watch it.
Exactly.
Give it 10, 15 minutes. See if it's setting anything up. Pay attention
Totally.
to what the number is telling you, and just go from there. Listen to Blake because he'll be on while it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, he'll be calling it live. That's a good point. There you go, Thiago. So that'll be with the man. Hey, everybody! So lucky to have Beth on as always, and maybe we'll make a habit of this on Fridays if it's slow. Um, I'll tell you, it's really it's a lonely world, and it's really nice to be able to talk to somebody on the level. And it's really exciting to be able to trade with Beth when she's live. So, huge round of applause for me for your efforts because I know you're looking at a lot of things, and it's not so easy to do both. And when she's not here, it's usually because she's probably really busy with more than 3 or 4 positions, and maybe a lot of size too. So who knows? All right, Beth, thank you so much
thanks
again,
for
and
having me.
we'll
I
see you
appreciate it.
on Monday morning. Hey, take it slow. Enjoy the sweet tea and the sunshine. Take
Have a
care,
good
hon.
weekend, everybody.
Hey,
Thanks.
thank you again, Beth. Again, million thanks. All right, everybody, I'm going to blast off. Thomas says, gratitude to Beth and her insight and time. Always. Isn't that awesome having her on? And Michael says, have a great weekend. It's a lonely business, but a good one. Yeah, I love it because you reset our own time. I could keep Michael in the house. And Michael Harmonic says, thanks. Yep, we love your work, Michael, as well. Don't ever forget that, even if we forget to tell you. Ian, Anna, Compax, Kelly, Phil, Maria, did I forget anybody? Nick, Ziggy, and the rest of you all who don't comment ever, it's okay. We're just glad to have you here. Have a great weekend, everybody. Aloha, be safe, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. That's for sure. Take care.